If you look right now at the early vote plus the mail vote, and we believe that will make up the majority of vote based upon history, right now the GOP's edge in terms of party registration is just 9 points, So there's this idea that this race may in fact be far more competitive than, say, the 2024 baseline would suggest.
These special elections are coming fast and not necessarily looking great for the Republicans. Now, why does that matter in the long run? I mean, in that thing you see, the GOP still has an advantage. Well, Harry Enten breaks down in this.
So, you see this party registration edge, GOP +9. Obviously, that's less than the 30 points, but it does still suggest that Randy Fine, the Republican, is the favorite over Josh Weil, the Democrat. But here's what's important to keep in mind. If we look so far at the average special election, there have only been really state legislative ones so far. Democrats are doing about 9 points better on average than Kamala Harris has done. Now, you might say, okay, who cares, so on and so forth. But here is why that's important. I want to take you back through history. We're going to go all the way back. We're going to go all the way back since 2005, the 2005-2006 cycle. And what we know from those cycles, at least in midterm elections, when one party outperforms in the special elections, guess how many times they have then gone on to win the US House of Representatives? 5 out of 5 times. So the fact that Democrats have been outperforming so far is a good sign for them heading into 2026.
Yes, so look, not all the coming special elections are going to be as positive, but this one does look like maybe there is something there. This is specifically State Senator Randy Fine, the Republican, going up against Josh Weil, a 40-year-old former public school teacher. So also seems symbolic of a lot of what's been going on across America, and in particular in Florida. So that's great news. It's also kind of like deeply, I think, symbolic district, because the reason we're having this election is because it was recently the 6th congressional district of Florida. It was recently held by Mike Waltz. If that name's familiar, it's the guy who keeps texting you the nuclear codes. So anyway, he's now in the administration, so he needs to be replaced. And the congressional advantage for the Republicans is super tight. It's 218 to 213. Any one of these flipping the other way might make some bills, some incredibly damaging bills, very difficult or impossible to pass. And so this is some good news. Now, it's not all great news. The PAC money and crypto money in particular has been flooding this race. And what do you know? They support the Republican in this case, not that they haven't supported some Democrats, but so again, they're gonna try to use this huge amount of corrupt money to offset the fact that the Republicans are deeply unpopular, JR, but what do you think about this?
It's finally a chance to see maybe some of the electoral politics switching. I think everyone's figuring that midterms, as I think Enten was pointing out there, as you see some signs of where it may go, I think everyone could see those signs going that direction, despite what this administration and what other Republicans in state levels are telling you how popular they are. This is where it actually hits. So if enough people continue to be able to pay attention, I think that's part of it. This onslaught of so much devastating and bad news is to keep people either afraid or too busy keeping their head down and trying to just survive, that they still won't know what's going on. But these are the signs of what we may see actually coming forward that sends us somewhere near back to some kind of normalcy. But then again, this is 2 years from now. So you have the small victories, like I was pointing out earlier, that's happening in state levels to keep them from completely destroying things immediately and outright as much as they can. But they still have this long game where you don't know which other kind of tactics are then gonna be implemented or inputted, or then tricky flipped on you to make you think one way is gonna be good for you, but then it actually is destroying your lives even further. The kinds of distractions and hateful policies they're trying to put forward, they know they're on the wrong side. Again, I've said it before, they know they're the bad guys. So the idea is to trick and flip these as much as possible. So I'm glad enough people are paying attention. My optimism doesn't come until things really change. So I hope that enough people are able to, because look out for any kinds of voting restrictions, disenfranchising of voters. They'll try every trick in the book because they know, as I point out, Governor Landry in Louisiana was caught on a hot mic before those elections over the weekend and said, we're just hoping for low voter turnout. That's all they want. They do not want you to vote. If you know that's the case, you know who the wrong guys are. But we got to get there. In the meantime, they're looking to destroy your life. We got to get there. So the fight has to happen before you get to those midterms. And maybe these are some of those fights.
Yeah, I hope so. And in terms of like trying to drive down that vote, they want it in this race, and they're passing executive orders to try to make it like the rule across America. So that's
Yeah.
why we're also focusing on that topic.